Welcome to the Little Wins Podcast, where school leaders share their little wins that build strong culture, with your host, Karen Borchert. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Little Wins, the podcast for school leaders building strong school culture one small win at a time. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Wade Stanford, Superintendent of Westwood ISD in Texas. Wade leads a small but mighty district with just over 1,300 students, but don't let that small number fool you. His leadership has been anything but small. Wade is known for his collaborative, people-centered approach where trust, culture, and community drive the work every day. What really strikes me about Wade's story is how intentionally he leads with empowerment and trust, and how that focus has led to real wins for students, teachers, and families alike. We're going to dig into what that looks like and how little wins go a long way to add up to real change in a small district. Wade, welcome. We're so happy you're here today.
Thanks, Karen. It's just my honor to be able to join you on the Little Wins podcast, and I'm so excited to be able to collaborate with you today and just discuss a few things that we've got going on in Westwood.
Great. I'm so excited. Well, let's start there. Take us to Westwood ISD and tell us a little bit about what it's like at your district.
Right, and so Westwood is we consider it a rural community. The state sometimes disagrees with us over that when it deals with funding and things of that nature, but uh, I think we have an amazing district. Like I said, has around 1,300 students in it. That enrollment fluctuates every single day. So our population mobility rate is around 25%. So we have students moving in and out of our district consistently. So relationships are very important in our district. And then the piece that you talked about, empowerment and collaboration, we feel like that goes all the way down to the student level. An amazing district which we have supportive parents and supportive board and just amazing teachers that we feel like are doing those pieces that I think fits into this podcast so much with uh, little wins and consistent growth every single day in our district.
That's awesome. For those of us who don't, have as much familiarity with things like a mobility rate, will you tell us a little bit about kind of what does that mean for a district to have a 20 to 25% mobility rate, and how does that show up in your district?
Right, and so what that actually means is that that number is an indicator of the percentage of students that may be changing residence. That could be they're coming from another district. They could be moving into our district. They could be transferring into our district. Or it could mean, and this is something that a lot of people don't understand, is that student may be spending the night in somebody else's house every single night. And
Wow.
and so the piece that when we think of homeless population, we think of people that are sleeping under bridges that we see that are standing on corners and things like that. But our homeless population of students has grown tremendously in our district, and so those students may be sleeping on the couch of a friend. They may
Wow.
be with one parent 1 week, with another parent another week. And so those pieces become challenges because of the stability of the home life, the stability of services that student may be getting. And so we hear the term wraparound services, and those
Mhm.
things are very, very important, that as we look at our students and making sure that we're meeting their needs in every single area and not just an academic area, but to make sure
Yeah.
that they're fed and make sure that they're safe and make sure that they have medical issues that are taken care of, and meeting their needs all the way around emotionally every single area.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Is that mobility rate, that's a pretty high mobility rate for a
It is
district
pretty high.
overall, or
It is pretty
what's
high,
average?
and honestly, I was just
Yeah.
sitting here as you asked that
You're
question.
like, I know
I
she's gonna
actually
ask me
thought
that.
I thought in my head, I wonder what average is, and then I don't
Mhm.
know. I
Mhm.
honestly don't know. Uh, but um,
But
but it's a
that's
piece.
increased for you all over
It has
time
it
that
has
you
increased,
mentioned
and I
that.
think that A lot of times when we some of the initiatives and some things that we've done, we've been very fortunate to present across the state and a couple of times outside of the state. And it's one of the pieces that I always bring up is the mobility rate because I'm afraid that a
Mm.
lot of times we don't look at that, and it's a population that may be slipping through the cracks.
Yeah, so important. Well, tell me a little bit about the impact that that has, or not, maybe not the impact, but tell me a little bit about how your team, your educators and leaders across the district, work with those kinds of that kind of set of needs and challenges, wraparound services, the kind of things that are outside of the classroom day. Tell me a little bit about how your team comes together for that.
Yeah. So we have a director of special programs, Tiffany Carwell, that does an amazing job of just connecting
Mm.
with principals, counselors, and teachers to identify students that need services or parents that need services. There's a lot of times that we think we just provide services to students, but we provide services to students. Uh, we have parents that their residence is a hotel, and and so we're providing different services as far as gift cards and things like that, so that we can meet their needs. Um, then our district nurse Kim Gilbreth does a tremendous job of just reaching out to those students and making sure that we don't need um, to provide some health related services to those students. And then
Yeah.
our counselors are there for the emotional piece. And we partner with some different organizations in town that when they need some support there, that we can get that support for them. And of course, the teachers, the principals, every one of them does that. And then I think what I consider a really cool part, and it may be normal for everybody, but a couple of years ago, we started our own police department in our district. And so we have a police officer on every single campus and a chief of police that
Wow.
oversees that. And so those officers, and it's one of the things that we talked about when we started it. We didn't want the traditional perception that the officers are here to give punitive consequences
Mm.
and to be there to strong arm and those things. And we wanted to build relationships, and we wanted to rebrand the thought of law enforcement and the interaction with students, because a lot of our students have
Wow.
negative
Mhm.
occurrences with that. And so we wear a little softer clothing. So we're in khakis and polos, and of course they're armed and all of that. But their main deal is to build relationships, and so they're vital in those cases with these students that are moving in and out, because they know the kids and they see a kid that's brand new, and so they develop a relationship with them, they have a conversation with them, and uh, and then they may be the first ones to tell us they need some support.
Yeah, wow. I have never heard of a school district that has started a police department within the district. That is
Yeah,
really, really unique.
yeah,
I love the emphasis there on creating those relationships and reframing a view of law enforcement.
right.
Have you seen some little wins out of that?
We have,
Yeah.
and so um, you know, they this like the stories tend to sound a little negative
Mm.
because it's stopping some issues that we had. But what we've seen from that is the relationships that our police officers have built, that students trust them and come to them and say, "Hey, we've got a problem with XYZ." I'm not going to go into those problems,
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
but I saw this and this looked weird, and from that, Karen, we've had the opportunity to stop um, some things that could have been much worse in the district. And so I think that relationship piece has been unbelievable with those students feel comfortable enough with them, feel comfortable enough with
Yeah.
their teachers, comfortable enough with counselors, with administrators, that they come in, they talk, and they say, "We saw something weird." We talk a lot in our district, and we started this a couple of years ago, horizontal accountability.
Mm.
Accountability is typically vertical, meaning that as
Yeah.
a superintendent, I direct, and then I tell the leadership layer below me that we need to do this. They tell the layer below them, and so forth. And so a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, we started the phrase horizontal accountability, where
Okay.
everybody holds everybody accountable. You see it, you
Wow.
say something. Everybody's responsible. And so colleagues holding colleagues accountable. If they see something that's not right, then they either talk about it to them or they go to a supervisor and they talk about it. And to the point that that I had an assistant principal walk in probably 3, 4, 5 weeks ago and said, "Mr. Stanford, you're killing me when you do this."
Ah,
And I said, "Okay, so explain that to me." And they
yeah.
explained it. And I said, I appreciate that very much, Kathy. And I said, I need to change. And so it
Mm,
goes all the way to me. And
wow.
so I count those as little wins that turn into really, really big pieces.
Oh, absolutely. That the ability for, I mean, what you're describing both with your students and your police team on campuses, and also with your teams and you, is really a high level of trust, right?
Right. Mhm.
That's it. It's a,
Right.
that that the ability to hold each other accountable, to know that if something doesn't look right, people are going to raise their hands, people are going to say something, means that people trust each other to be able to say something. How have you fostered that type of trust on your campus?
So, so I think that's been a journey since
Yeah.
August of 2016, and that's when I took
Okay.
the superintendent position. So I'm starting my 10th year. We
Well,
kid about that. That's about 3 times the average lifespan of a superintendent in the district,
yeah.
and so. But I think it's a piece of beginning in 2016 of just showing the staff and the students that I'm just a normal person, that I'm just like everybody else, and then
Mhm.
modeling vulnerability, transparency, and honesty, and then just being open for the feedback and the input, and then taking that and being willing to move with it. Um, I think um, I think you also have to I think you have to be intentional about the fact when somebody comes and tells you something that that you start with a positive intent. They're coming in with a
Mhm.
positive intent. You don't assume that there's something negative, and so you
Yes.
do it from a positive intent. And I tell my staff all the time, I want you to talk to me. I want you to tell me. I probably don't want to hear what you're saying, but I need to hear what you're saying.
Wow, that's so good. I think that that concept of leading with positive intent is so good, and I think that honesty of that statement, I probably don't wanna hear what you're saying, but I need to hear what you're saying, is that's an invitation really for that feedback in a way that, is really excellent. Well, it sounds like, the district's really lucky to have you as a
Yeah.
tenure,
You know.
leader, but tell us a little bit about that leadership journey. How did you get into education, and what brought you into leadership?
Okay, so education. I think the decision um, to get into education was in Coach Hagler's biology classroom as a sophomore in Breckenridge, Texas, and
Okay.
I had uh, I had worked a elementary track meet that previously I had run in when I was in elementary school in
Okay.
Breckenridge, and so uh, Coach Hagler was our track coach, and he would take us over, and we would work that track meet with elementary students. And so I had the
Okay.
opportunity to
As a
work that
student,
track meet at, yeah, as a high school student.
as a
He
high
would
school
take
student.
his track there. So I ran track and played
Mhm.
football, and and so he would take us over to actually run and help run that track meet. And so we had three
Okay.
elementaries in town, and so we would compete against each other. And so walking away from that and coming back to his biology classroom, I can still remember sitting on the second row back, far right, closest to the wall, windows up to the right hand side of me. And I said, I'm going into education. I'm going to be a
That's
coach.
that's incredible. What a good
Yeah.
story. What a great
And
story.
and I didn't, oh man, I did. I didn't know it was going to hit like that, but I haven't told that story in a while. And I got real emotional because I think of the impact he had. I think of the
Yes.
impact that that same year Mrs. Walker, my English teacher, had, and
Mhm.
both of them are models of what I wanted to be Um, and and so that's when it started. So from that point on, I was on a mission, uh, to
That's so
and to be
great.
very honest and to be honest with the audience, it was to coach. It wasn't to teach.
Yeah.
It was to coach,
Yeah.
and I wanted to coach, and then found out, well, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to teach, and so
One comes with the
so
other.
yeah, it does, and so I started that exploration, and went on and went through traditional student teaching, and found what I loved. I was a science teacher, mainly biology, and then did sixth, seventh, and
Okay.
eighth grade science,
Just
and
like Coach
coached.
Hagler?
It was just like him,
Yeah.
and started coaching, and worked my way up through the coaching ranks to the end. The last 7 years as a head coach and athletic director, and then I think that took us into the leadership role,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what really was pivotal then, Karen, was that athletic director and head football coach, and we had principal turnover, and
Mm.
I served on some principal search committees and screening committees. I had a superintendent during my first stint as a first district as a athletic director that came to me and said, "You need to go back and be an administrator, and I want you to
Wow.
go back to school and do that." And we looked at it and we contemplated it, but I decided that I wasn't through coaching and didn't want to do that yet. And so 6 years
Yeah.
later, I'm sitting on another committee, or close to 6 years later, I'm sitting on another committee, and we interviewed 5 individuals, and so I go home and we selected one, and we go home, and I have an amazing wife, Marla. I kid with people. I'll kick my coverage when I married her. She's unbelievable. And I walk in and I went, she said, "How'd your day go?" And I was explaining the process and what we did. And I said, "Marla," I said, we've got a principal, but I think I can do as good a job as they're doing. I said, I knew what I wanted to hear,
Yeah.
and they missed the mark. I said, there
Mhm.
was nobody that hit the mark. They would get close, but they wouldn't hit it. And I said,
Yeah.
and we talked afterwards, because there's always the meeting after the meeting.
Sure,
And
the
so
meeting. Yep.
like all of us that were on the screening committee kind of got together and said, God, that person was good, but if they had just extended that answer a little bit more. And so my wife Marla looks at me and she goes, "Well, if you're so good, then why don't you go back and do it then?" And so a year later, we made the decision as a couple that that's what we were going to do. And then so I went back in and got my administrative certificate, when became an assistant principal in that same district, and
Yep.
so then started a journey
Did you still get to
of
coach?
no, no. Like
No?
I made the decision. I was finished. That was it.
Yep.
And that's the encouragement and the I guess the piece I would say to anybody that's in any position that they're saying, I think I'm finished with this stage of my career, this stage of my life,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at that.
Mhm.
Make sure that you're actually finished with it,
Mm.
because you will regret if you do. If I had done it 6 years before, I would have
Yeah.
regretted, because I still had some gas in the tank to coach,
Yeah.
and I would
Yeah.
have gone on. But no, I did that, and did 39 college hours in 12 months. And
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
oh yeah,
That is
yeah.
some
It
dedication.
was a fast program, and I was working during that, and then assistant principal, director of HR, and then assistant superintendent prior to this, and now superintendent
Yeah.
for that. And I think that progression has always been there. We knew that was happening. Matter of fact, my first administrative job, he offered me an assistant superintendent job or assistant principal job. And I told him I'd
Mhm.
take the
Okay.
assistant principal because I wanted to learn every single role,
Yep.
because I wanted to be a superintendent. And I think that's
Yeah.
paid off in the long run. But
Yeah.
I
And
think
just
each
understanding
yeah,
the real
yeah.
role.
Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly.
mhm.
And it's just this piece of moving, and there's not an ego in the moving up. I'll say it's not the driver. I think we're all lying if we say there's not some ego involved
Sure.
in taking
Yeah.
another level. But it's about impacting. It's about impacting a larger group, um, and so that's been the drive.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's go back really quick to Coach Hagler for a moment.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you kind of mentioned the influence these educators had on you as a student to go into education. How do you encourage that with your teachers now? Are you working to bring that kind of inspiration and encouragement from your teachers to your students today, or how has that played into how you lead your teachers?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd say that, yeah, definitely has, and
Mm,
I think I would have failed if I didn't,
yeah,
because of the impact it had on me with the teachers that really impacted me, and so I think that, we do it intentionally in multiple ways, and one of it is we're constantly talking about it in our leadership meetings, building the relationship, building moments, developing those pieces where we're building impact, and that we have a role that's bigger than teaching academics, a role that's bigger than a state assessment, that
yeah,
we're trying to impact the entire child, and trying to find where we can do that. We visit with our staff. I interview every single teacher that we hire in the district, and so it's a piece of
yeah,
the conversation that I have with them about impacting kids and how we're going to do that. Um, then I think, and we've done this at the first of the year since I've been here. I forbid any direct instruction during the first. So we start school with 3 days. We typically start on a Wednesday, so we Wednesday, Thursday,
yep,
Friday, and we do not allow direct instruction during those 3 days. Those 3 days are for nothing but building relationships, getting to know kids, and starting to build a foundation that they can actually teach. We know that students will not learn one thing if they're not safe,
mhm,
if they're not fed, and if they're not loved.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so we start with the love, and we want to teach them that we love them. We want to show them that we love them by spending time
yeah,
and learning who they are. Our food service director, Brandon, has told our staff repeatedly, if you have a kid that shows up and they're hungry, come find us. We're feeding them
mm,
no matter what time of the day it is, because
yep,
they
yep.
can't learn if their stomach's growling. And and then
Wow,
the safety
I could
piece.
gave me chills. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And then the
Yeah,
safety piece goes bigger than physical safety. They have to know emotionally
mhm,
they're safe, that we create an environment in which they can go in and they can share ideals and thoughts, whether they're the same ideals and thoughts or whether they're opposing thoughts and ideals, and that those will be accepted and valued. And
yeah.
so we try to do that intentionally at the start of the year, and then just touch points throughout the rest of the year.
I love it. I love it. You're the second superintendent that's told me about no direct instruction the first week of
Hmm.
school.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. What do your teachers do during that time? What are some of the most fun or meaningful things that your teachers
Yeah.
do during that week?
So so I think that they so many of them do activities in which they learn about their students, but then the
Good.
teachers are sharing about themselves. And so this last
Okay.
as I walked the first day, because the first day of school, I go into every single classroom in the district, and so I went into every single classroom,
That's
and I had.
every single classroom in the
Yeah.
district?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And, they're in there talking about themselves, their families, their kids, their love, their interest. And so I think what that does is that starts to break down this barrier that if you think back to when you were in school, you thought your
Mhm.
teachers lived at school. They never had a home. They never
Yeah.
went anywhere. They
Yeah, it
never
was
did
weird to see
anything
them in the
normal. Yeah.
grocery
Yeah.
store.
If you saw them at the grocery store, you're
Yeah.
like, what? Yeah.
It's very
Well,
confusing, yeah.
but we try to become normal people to our kids. And so I think that's a cool piece. We've got some things on we've already started talking about next year, and I think we're gonna do some interesting things. We've got the shell of it. So the beginning of the year testing is very important for us. We use MAP
Okay.
as our as
Mhm.
a platform, and we use iReady also, and both of those are very valuable to us as far as academics and growth. Uh,
Mhm.
and we know that to be able to get a good testing environment, we need to do that as quick as we can before instruction starts, because once instruction starts, it just really gets hard. So we're looking at
Yeah.
reformatting that a little bit and do some beginning of the year testing during the first 3 days. But when we do that, we're going to start, and we don't know what this looked like yet, Karen, but so I'm unveiling this on the show. Uh, we're going to do some campus activities of building relationships. So I see it as bigger than just building relationship with your teacher, but now we're
Yeah.
building relationships across the campus, between
Oh,
grade levels, between teachers, um, some activities that do some team building, maybe grade level, some different things like that. So I'm really excited about what that looks like next year.
oh,
Uh,
that's
yeah.
great. That's great. Well, I will tell you, we've got some, we have some of the Little Wins Network has some really amazing team building
Okay.
activities. So I'll
We
send you
need to,
some of
yeah, we have to
them.
look at it. Yes.
No, that's great. That's very, very cool. I want to go back to your food service director for a
Right.
moment,
Okay.
because your food service director, saying to you and to all the teachers in the school, if you have a kid who comes in hungry, no matter what time of day it is and who it is or what it is, we're going to make sure that they get fed. Is a huge moment, obviously, for students and for their health, their safety, and their feeling loved. I think that they feel all three of those things by a food service director doing that. But there would be some staff members in some places who wouldn't feel empowered to say that to everybody in the school or everybody in the district. How do you create that empowerment in your food service director to feel like they can solve that problem each day? And is that widespread? Is that every single staff member in your school that feels that way?
Right. And I, I say, I think so. And I'm going to say it that way
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I believe that I send that message, but
Mm.
I hope that they all feel that way. Uh,
Yeah.
we have a
Wow.
belief statement. So we have 10 belief statements. And one of
Okay.
our belief statements says everybody's a leader. They lead from where they're at. And
Mm.
so I think we
Can you
take
say
that
that for
to,
us one more time?
yes. So everybody's a leader. They lead from where they're at. That's
They lead from
kids.
where they're
That's
at.
everybody.
Okay.
Not making a difference what your position is. You're a leader in the district. Um, and um, and so my administrative assistant was in an interview process with me because we're interviewing for a receptionist for our central office, and she even
Okay.
said, "I do this, I do that, and then I lead from my position."
Mm.
And so
That's incredible.
that made my heart feel so good that she
Yeah.
sees herself as a leader. And
As a
so
leader.
and the piece is we've got to be careful because we sometimes think an administrative assistant doesn't do that. Administrative assistant listens to what they need, somebody needs, and they do those things. But she sees herself as a leader. And so I think there's this intentional piece of growing leaders, developing leaders, and uncovering their leadership skills that they've got that they don't even know they have, and then
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
out of their way so that they can lead. And my philosophy is that, and because this was me, if you hire me, I want to work, I want to lead.
Mhm.
If
Yep.
you're going to
Yep.
micromanage me, I don't want to be there.
Right.
And
Right.
and some of my staff says the great thing with working with Wade is he's going to let you lead. The worst
Mm.
thing with working with Wade is he's going to let you lead, because he's gonna expect you to lead. He's gonna expect you to have
Mhm.
ideals and thoughts and solutions, and he's gonna give you total ownership of it, which is all great. But then there's responsibility and accountability
Right.
to
Right. It
doing
comes with
that.
accountability.
Yeah, it does. But what I find is that we attract great people that want to work in a system like that. And so
Yeah.
then a food service director feels comfortable never saying to me, "Is it okay if I do this?" just says this is
Right.
the way we're going to do it.
This is where we're doing it.
Yeah,
Yep.
because we also use the phrase, and I stole this from Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The standard is the standard. They know that we have a high
Mm.
standard. We know that we're going to take care of our kids. We know that our kids are going to be first. We know that the decisions are going to be made in the best interest of students, and so they
That's
all
great.
know what that standard is. And so he knows that standard, and that standard is take care of kids.
That's incredible. That's wonderful. That's a great story, and I love the idea that, if you hire me, I want to work. I'm not choosing to work here because I want to be micromanaged. I'm
Right.
choosing here because I
Yeah.
want to be a leader.
Yeah.
And that sounds
Yeah.
like
So
it just permeates your entire team. So tell me a little bit. I love hearing kind of the fun or exciting or interesting or unique things that different leaders do around kind of school culture, district culture. Tell us a little bit about the culture on your campuses.
yeah. So we feel like that, and we talk about this a lot, that our culture on the campuses is very collaborative, very inviting, and Karen, we have talked about this before, a family atmosphere with a team spirit. And
Ooh, let's say that again. A
yeah,
family atmosphere with a
atmosphere with a
team
team
spirit.
spirit. Yeah.
Okay, tell us what that
Okay.
looks like.
Okay.
I need to see and hear this one.
Yeah. So here's the deal. And
I'm picturing
family.
like a Thanksgiving football game, family
Okay.
football game kind
Well,
of
so you're headed
mentality.
in the right direction. So I'm gonna paint
Okay,
this
okay,
picture
great.
for you. Okay. So
Yep,
everybody talks about we want to be family. We want to be close like family. We want to treat each other like family. Okay.
yep.
We support that, and we understand the ideal behind that. The challenge with that is that every family is dysfunctional. It, and I can tell because of the look on your face right now. Okay.
I'm
So
not saying a
okay,
word, Wade.
no,
I can get in
no,
trouble.
because when I talk to people about this, and their faces look just like that,
Uh-huh.
and so I've presented this before, and I said, and I can guarantee you, I said I can tell you because I can tell you about my wife's family, and so everybody laughs about that
Yeah, yeah.
because but here's the reality: we all have a level of dysfunction in our family. And I tell people, I said, you can tell because I said, think back to the last family gathering that you had.
Yep.
You walk in, you scan the room for that one person, and you head the other direction.
Everyone's looking for that person
Yeah,
and
that
think,
person. Yeah, and
yeah.
you know who that
Yep.
person is because if you get to that person, they are just going to wear you out with however they wear you out. And
Right, right.
I know mine. And so and then
In
I
your
say,
wife's family,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah, in my wife's family.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I kind of kid around and I say, well, and if you're not doing it, maybe you are the one that they're all looking at. I don't know,
Yeah.
but anyway, so
Look to your left, look to your right, it
yeah,
might be you.
yeah, it might be. And there's this piece that we know that, and that person is the person. Quite honestly, if we're being very, very honest, that we love and their family, but we're like, I
Mhm.
don't want to spend hours with them. Okay. Because
Okay.
they talk about this or that, but we never say anything to them.
Mhm.
Everybody leaves the family gathering. They get in the car and they start going, oh my gosh, did you sit by? Did you hear so?
Yeah,
Did you? Okay. We've all
yeah.
had those conversations. And so we don't say anything because it's family and we don't want to hurt family.
Right.
And family's very, very important. And so when we start talking about our staffs, we got to be careful because if we treat them like
Mhm.
family, we're going to allow dysfunction to occur
Hmm.
because somebody on the staff is not doing what they need to do and nobody wants to talk to them about it. So
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you have a highly functioning team, teams don't tolerate dysfunction.
Mhm.
Teams try to go and talk to the person that's dysfunctional, the teammate. They try to
Yep.
coach the person. They take them out for extra practice, and they work with them to fix the
Mm.
deficiency. They set and they they may reprimand them, and they may say, I'm going to have to suspend you for a little bit, and then you can come back to the team. But if that teammate never gets in line and buys into the values of the team, eventually that person's off the team. And so what we talk about is we want to have the best parts of family.
Just much harder to do in a family.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, you I mean, seriously. And then the
Yeah.
piece that you hold people accountable, which now starts to go with the horizontal accountability that we talked about, where everybody,
Yeah.
and it's not just the leader that has to have that conversation. So if you've got a grade level team and one person's dysfunctional on that team, is not doing lesson plans, is not doing the internalization, is not following the scope and sequence, somebody on the team says something, somebody tries to coach them, somebody tries to do it. If that doesn't work, then an instructional coach should be doing it. And eventually the principal should be doing it. But it's not all left to the principal to do it. And so because a team doesn't say the head coach has to do it. Teammates do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Oh,
that's what we try to do.
That's awesome. I love it. I can picture this culture now. Now I want to come visit and see what it's all about down there. It's
Right.
absolutely amazing. Well, we're at the point of our interview where we ask the same questions. It's kind of our lightning round of questions. Are you ready for those 3 questions?
I think I am. I don't know
Okay,
what,
here we go. We're going to give it a try.
We'll see what they are.
Okay, here they are. So the first question is, what are the 3 words that you want to define your district culture? If you could define it in 3 words, what do you want those words
Positive,
to be?
collaboration, and honesty.
That's great. That's great. Why do you choose those?
Because life is tough, and we have a choice to be positive or negative. And things are hard, and it's easy to gravitate to the negative. And so I think we have to be positive, and so that piece is so important. The integrity, that's who you are when nobody's watching. That's that's the truth in you. And I had a mentor of mine that told me, said, Wade, you come with integrity and you leave with integrity, and you don't let anything damage it in between. And so I think that's so important. It's easy to stumble. It's easy to get out of that. And so I think you have to remember that. And honesty, if you're not honest, you can't grow. And you got to be honest.
Yeah.
I think you have to lead with the heart when you're doing with that. And you have to be honest with people, and then you have to show them how they can correct. Because if you leave any one of those out, then you're never going to improve people.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, next question. What is one little win you've had at work lately that we can celebrate for you?
So Thursday, and I hate even doing this. So last Thursday was my birthday, and
Happy birthday.
yes, thank
Belated.
you. And we had training that day, professional learning, and the staff had put a video together of asking people what it meant to work with me.
Oh man.
And it was unbelievable. And they did it to the Office theme and all that. And
oh my gosh, funny.
So it touched my heart. It was funny. There were people that were hilarious on it. And I told my staff on the way out, thank you so much. I felt so loved, and I felt valued today. And so that was a really cool part. That was a little win for me.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a huge win. I love that. Yeah. I love that. That's wonderful. What a gift from your team, and also
and I had
leadership.
No idea that that they'd even done the video. And,
that's so cool.
Even one part that we're sitting there and I'm standing watching it, and the entire district is then watching it, and they asked one of the custodians, so do you want to say something positive about Mr. Stanford? It's his birthday. And she goes, no. And so I'm like, And then
Nice.
they came back and they did it again, and she's had some
Yeah.
really cool remarks to say. And they had
Oh my gosh, funny.
got her to do that, to just uh, to make it look like she didn't want to say anything.
Yeah,
And so it was
just to
just being
add a little
funny. And yeah,
humor.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
great. That's
yeah.
great. That's great. All right. Well, last question. We know that school culture is everybody's job, not just the
Mhm.
superintendent's job or the leader's job, which is you've talked about on the episode today. So, what's one thing that you believe any educator can do to strengthen their school or district culture right now?
Yeah, so I think it goes with being an advocate for themselves, being an advocate for staff, and to be an advocate for their leader on their campus, and
Mm,
to do that by being positive, and finding the good in the day, and in the troubles, finding solutions instead of asking everybody else to solve problems and never bringing anything to the table.
very well said. Well, Wade, thank you. We have heard so many amazing ideas today and concepts today, from leading with positive intent, to helping find unique ways to build trust between students and law enforcement, to interviewing every teacher in the district and going into every classroom on the first day of school, to making sure that every kid is safe and fed and loved, and knowing that your staff is looking out for them every single day, to just choosing positivity. You have truly created a really unique culture of a family atmosphere with the team spirit. And we loved hearing about it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Karen, I appreciate it. It has been a blast being on here. I've just enjoyed the
Great.
conversation. I say all the time that it's fun to have these conversations, because we grow in the midst of it, because we reflect over things, and I've got new ideas popping in my head as we're talking. So I appreciate it so
Oh, great.
much.
We'll come
Yeah.
back and tell us
Yes.
more of those
Yeah.
ideas. Have a little win? We'd love to hear from you. Learn how we help schools build strong culture at getalpaca.com.